What's up, agents? Zer here, welcome back to Lab. Today we're going to be discussing one of my personal favorite resource packs once again, the Pixtail resource pack. However, this time I'm not actually going to be showing you guys actual features that are in the resource pack. Instead, I actually have a few suggestions for updates to this pack. Now, of course, I'm sure there are going to be some of you guys who are not familiar with what Pixtail actually is, and I'm going to go ahead and briefly explain what this is. So, what this resource pack does is it changes the models and textures of certain things in the game to make them look, well, honestly, pretty awesome in my opinion. It's honestly one of my top favorite resource packs that's ever come out for this version of Minecraft, and I've already done 2 videos on this resource pack already. Once when it was originally released, and once again when it was updated and had some brand new features. And well, unfortunately there is no current update to this pack at the moment, but as I said before, I have some suggestions for future updates. Now, this actually was technically somewhat inspired by a tweet that I sent out recently. So this resource pack was actually created by someone by the name of Innova, and he actually did a fantastic job with this resource pack. It's actually a really awesome resource pack, as I said. So I actually sent a tweet out to them recently saying that there's apparently some sort of bug going on with the Trident model, and I asked him if it was possible to fix, and I also asked him at the same time if he was planning on adding a few extra features to the resource pack, and he did in fact say yes. He said that he was planning on releasing an update to the resource pack sometime later this month, which honestly, that is incredibly awesome. Like I said, one of my personal favorite resource packs. It's getting another update, so I'm actually really excited to see what kind of new features are going to be implemented into this resource pack, which it's going to be rather interesting. I don't know anything about what this update is going to entail, and I actually rather be surprised about it. I personally rather find out about it by downloading it, the update brand new. But yeah, so that's actually kind of like the whole inspiration as to why I decided to make this video. Now, before I go ahead and show you guys what I have in mind for upcoming features to it, again, as I said, these are just suggestions I have. I will at least show you guys a couple examples of the Pixtail resource pack before I actually get into my suggestions, just so you guys get a little bit of an idea of how this resource pack actually works. If you guys want to see the remainder of the resource pack in full detail, everything that it changes, make sure to check the 2 video links down in the description. One is for when the resource pack first came out, and one is obviously when it was first updated. You guys can go ahead and see all the features that this resource pack has to offer with those tools. And also down in the description will be a link to Innova over on Twitter, as well as a link to download the resource pack for itself. So let's go into it. So as I said, I'm going to be showing you guys some examples before I actually go ahead and go into my suggestions. And this one, as you can obviously tell, is the chicken. It's got a nice 3D feet texture. It's got a little thing below its chin, one above its chin, one at the top. And it has a really interesting looking 3D feather out the back, which is actually really interesting. I do really like the model of the chicken a lot. And also, this is the only other example that I'm going to be giving you guys for this particular video. This is actually a seahorse, and you might be wondering, well, exactly how is there a seahorse in the game when there aren't actually seahorses in Minecraft? Well, this is actually technically replacing the larger model of the tropical fish, which actually is honestly pretty smart. It adds a lot more variety into the coral reef founds. It adds well, not technically a new mob because it has the exact same behavior as the regular tropical fish, but just adds a little variety. It does have 3D modeling to it as well, and because it is technically a tropical fish and you find these naturally spawning in the world, or you just happen to spawn these in creative on your own, you will find that they do in fact come in a wide variety of colors. But because it's a generic model for every single large tropical fish model, you're not going to see any change other than just simply the color. So that is just two basic examples of how the actual Pixtail resource pack works. So let's go ahead and get started into the actual suggestions that I have for future updates to this resource pack. Now, before I go ahead and make these suggestions, now I did say that Innova said that he's planning on releasing an update sometime this month, and I honestly don't know what's planned for this update, and I can't imagine any of this. Well, I'm pretty sure one of the suggestions might actually make it into the update, but I honestly don't know whether or not any of the other ones I'm going to suggest are going to make it in. I just want to throw that out there. So here is my first suggestion, and this is the Phantom. Now, admittedly, Phantoms do not spawn all that frequently. If you're pretty good about making sure you go to bed every single night, and if you're on a realm and everyone else does the exact same, you're not going to see these guys all too often. And plus, because they are technically hostile mobs, you really wouldn't want to get up and close to them in the first place. But I thought it would be kind of interesting if, like, their veins, bones, whatever is technically exposed on their wings and back, I thought it would be kind of interesting to see those details kind of pop out a little bit, because that is technically the whole point behind this resource pack. I just thought that might make a little bit of an interesting detail. As I said, hostile mobs, you don't really want to get near them, and well, because they only spawn when you haven't slept in a while, if you do a really good job, you're not going to see them all too often. But I just thought that would be a rather interesting suggestion for me to go ahead and give. Now, next up, this is actually the trade. Now, this is actually the original reason why I decided to go ahead and make this video. Now, as you can tell, it's a really awesome model, and I don't think that this model needs to change. However, you may notice that there's actually a missing prong on this trend. This is actually, I found out that this is apparently a bug within the resource pack. It seems to be a bug. It seems to be problematic with 1.7. I'm assuming that's what the problem is. And this is actually something that I'm expecting to get fixed in the next coming update to Pixtail. And honestly, I don't want this to change at all, other than the fact that, well, as I mentioned, there's a missing prong. That is something I do want to have changed. But honestly, probably one of my favorite models of of everything in this resource pack. Now, next up is the bed. And this is actually a feature suggestion that I wanted to give. This is actually an Easter egg that I found. I wanted to share it with you guys. So as you can tell, a really interesting and well-detailed 3D model of this bed. This is probably if you have this resource pack installed, you're gonna probably want to go to bed and go to sleep just because of how awesome this thing. And I don't know what you guys' opinions about that are. Anyway, this is an Easter egg, as I said, not a suggestion. And this is something I don't know how many people who are going to be using this resource pack are even going to notice, but I happened to notice this. So as you can tell, I've got a bed up here at the top, and apparently there's a little picture on the underside of this bed. Now, I don't know whether or not this is part of the resource pack or if this is actually part of the normal bed. I haven't actually taken this resource pack down off of my resource pack list to find out which of the two it is. I just thought I'd go ahead and share it with you guys. And I did also do some testing. It doesn't actually matter what color the bed is. You have the same picture on the bottom of the bed regardless. And I'm sure Nova will probably let me know down in the description. Actually, I shouldn't even say that because I don't know that for sure. But if he does, let me know down in the comment section if this is actually just supposed to be a little bit Easter egg that you put in, or if it just happens to be something built in. I actually am not 100% sure. Now, the next set of suggestions that I have for this resource pack are all block related. And before I go ahead and discuss these suggestions, I want to go ahead and mention that I am not a resource pack expert, and I don't know if it's actually technically possible to even change the models of blocks. That's actually the whole point of these next few suggestions I have for these blocks is model change suggestions. And like I just said, I honestly do not know whether or not it's possible to actually change the models of these blocks. This is the only time that I actually gonna go ahead and mention this. So the first suggestion that I had is maybe make the model of the logs round, because I thought that would actually be a rather nice detail. Now I'm not saying that having a square log doesn't make any sense. I mean, this is Minecraft, everything's blocks in one sense or another, so it makes sense that it's a square, but I thought maybe add a little extra realism and make a round log would actually look honestly pretty cool. In all honesty, I thought that would actually be a really nice detail. Now next up is the carved pumpkin and the jack-o'-lantern. I thought maybe it might be interesting to maybe see the eyes and mouth indented just a little bit. So I thought that would actually be kind of nice, because I know for a fact that there are admittedly some cases where there's a little indentation in the textures of certain things. Like for example, the zombie pigmen, they have 2 different layers on their heads, and it adds a really nice extra bit of detail to their skin. I thought maybe something similar to that for the carved pumpkin and the jack-o'-lantern would be kind of interesting. Now the last block that I had a suggestion for was the hay bale, and I thought maybe make the model of the actual hay itself slightly smaller, and basically make the actual ropes around the hay bale pop out just a little bit, because I thought that would actually be a rather cool detail in my opinion, just to add a little extra flair to something that otherwise wouldn't actually be used all too often, or at least in my opinion. I don't actually use the hay bale all too much. I'm pretty sure there are people out there that use hay bale in certain builds, and I don't know who you are, but I know you probably, I know for a fact that you do actually exist. But yeah, just a little extra detail. Now I do have one final suggestion. This is actually not something that I can really show off quite easily, and that's the actual textures of the things in the Pixtail resource pack themselves. And this is more specifically geared towards the mobs that have been changed as far as this resource pack is concerned. So when this resource pack first came out, well, they did have brand new models for the chicken, and I didn't actually showcase this, but they also have different models for the cow, and they also have different models for the pig, and there are a few other mobs that exist within the resource pack that have slightly different models as well. And in the original version of the resource pack, they were all 16x textures, which actually makes a lot of sense. However, when they updated the resource pack the first time, they updated the textures to 32x. Now, I'm not going to go ahead and say the fact that 32x textures to begin with are necessarily a bad thing. In fact, I actually use faithful 32x on a regular basis, because I like the HD textures of the vanilla textures that I know that came out weird, but let's just go and roll with it. So I do like the 32x textures to begin with, so I'm not saying that having 32x textures in something like this is a bad thing. However, I feel like Innova should probably make a version of the resource pack that is 32x, a version of the resource pack that is in normal 16x. And the reason for that is just simply some devices do not register 32x or really any HD texture in general all too well. And I actually have personal experience with this, because I used to make videos with my tablet, and my tablet is running Android 4.4.2, which is quite honestly like the oldest version of Android that app developers are able to support when they make their apps, if they even support that version of Android at all. So it's a really old version of Android, and I actually encountered this particular bug. So I tried to install a 32x resource pack, and all it ended up doing was making all my textures blurry. And I'm just trying to throw this out there to Innova, because if you have 32x textures on some of your items, and mainly good devices will be able to render them properly, and they look absolutely fantastic. And I actually am able to see them myself. I know they look fantastic, but for devices that can't handle HD textures all that well, honestly, I think it would be best if you were trying to help at least those people out by giving them a normal 16x version, so that they can at least get the models like they're seeing in the Pixtail resource pack, and still be able to properly render the textures the way they're supposed to look. So that's just a little bit of a suggestion that I had. And again, as I said, the update to Pixtail is apparently, according to Innova, coming out sometime this month, so I am excited for that. But I can't honestly imagine how much stuff I've actually just talked about, or is actually gonna make it, and just because I just kind of wanted to make my own little, like, suggestion video. But anyway, with that out of the way, I think this is actually a good place for me to go ahead and end off the video. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed. If you did, make sure that like button. One more, than make sure that subscribe button for future content. Also, you can follow me on Twitter at AgentCPU0 to stay updated. This is Zer0's. Thank you guys for watching, and with that, I'll see you guys later.